Anyone who has watched this channel should know that I have the utmost respect for Linus and his team. Producing a video every single day for years on end is an impressive task, and they deserve massive credit. And the influence that they've had on our channel and the direction we've taken, it can't be understated. But as I watched the recently released video on GPU mining, I couldn't help but thinking, this is a bunch of slapdash horse hockey. And no, it's not for the most obvious and explicit reasons that Linus himself calls out in their own video. No, it's not the fact that they use dual $4,000 22-core Xeon CPUs, nor the inclusion of 32 gigs of ECC memory, nor the absurd $5,000 Supermicro chassis that they held all of the GPUs in. Obviously, no mining rig would be profitable with the inclusion of such ludicrously overkill parts. But that's just Linus being Linus, going overboard to the point of capsizing just because they freaking can. So faulting them for that would be akin to complaining that a diet of Hot Pockets, Doritos, and Mountain Dew makes you fat. It's just their nature, folks. No, my points of criticism derive from a few different places than just the quirky nature of the video, so let's look into them. So, first up, towards the beginning of the video, Jake points out that theoretically 1080 Ti's are the most profitable cards according to NiceHash, and in order to move forward with that idea, they're going to have to ignore cost to buy, and then jokingly shows a Titan XP. While Linus also makes a joke of, what do you think I'm made of graphics cards? Obviously they're made of graphics cards because they're Linus freaking tech tips. So they settle on using a single 1080 Ti, 4 GTX 1080s, and 3 more GTX 1070s. This joke, premise, usage of those GPUs, and then the rest of the video served to really grind my gears. This video is supposed to be dedicated to mining profitability as part of their mining adventure series, but they do everything besides focus on profitability. Obviously, ignoring cost to buy was partially a joke, but partially wasn't, as they move forward with their usage of only high-end Nvidia cards for this experiment. Linus even pointed out that this won't be the most profitable rig that you can get, and I can accept that statement, but they want to stick with these parts moving forward, as Linus states towards the end of the video that they intend to keep these specific GPUs in a more optimized rig in a follow-up video. There's so many issues with that. Number one, a GTX 1080 Ti isn't the most profitable card at this point, by any stretch, also ignoring cost to buy. My RX Vega 64 earns roughly $1 to $1.50 more per day than any of the 1080 Ti's we have in our office. It's almost as if A, they did little to no research and just pulled some spare GPUs off the shelf to make a video quickly, or B, really don't plan to use all Nvidia cards in a follow-up optimization video like they said they're going to, or C, they're Nvidia shills and chose to exclude AMD even though they make the most sense for mining. Alright, and then point number two. Clearly, they're not ignoring cost to buy or any sense of practicality because they didn't decide to load up their mining rig with 8 1080 Ti's, but instead chose to scale it down to a few lesser siblings. So why on earth did they choose cards that suck for mining? GTX 1070s are paltry in comparison to even an RX 480, and GTX 1080s are even less sensible due to their GDDR5X memory. I mean, my non-optimized bone stock RX 480 earns exactly the same as my 1070 Ti, the fusion of the 1070 and 1080. I can obviously give them the benefit of the doubt for not at least using 1070 Ti's because it's clear that their video was filmed before that embargo lift on that, but really, Linus? Balls to the wall, massively overkill Linus? You scaled down from using 8 1080 Ti's and you chose cards that suck? Number three, for following up with an optimized rig, you can't keep those same GPUs. Optimizing a 1070 or 1080 will not net you a raw higher profit than optimizing an AMD card. It just won't. Optimizing any higher end AMD card is such a better bet than optimizing Pascal right now. How about this? With my RX Vega 64, with just a simple memory overclock and high bandwidth cache controller enabled, my single Vega 64, just one, gets just under 50% of the raw crypto night hashing rate as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their GPUs. 7 Nvidia GPUs to beat 2.2 RX Vegas. That's laughably weak. My biggest problem with Linus's video isn't that he went complete overkill on a test mining rig, but that they went overkill in the completely wrong direction. Using Nvidia GPUs just doesn't make sense in this instance. It's like if I bought the best monster truck tires for my Nissan 370Z, or got the world's best PC carrying case for my Fantex Enthoo Elite Super Chassis. Sure, I went all out and had no cost as a concern, but I bought something that isn't at all suited for what my purposes are. I'm not going to be hauling the Enthoo Elite off to every LAN party or taking the 370Z to a show to compete against Gravedigger. So why use Nvidia cards to talk about mining profitability? Again, I think the usage of the cards could have been forgiven if they didn't iterate that they plan to keep them for an optimized video coming soon. They clearly chose them and chose to keep them. But rather than make this video solely about bashing Linus's video, because I'm not that sort of guy, I really do respect him and the team, but they just dropped the ball on this particular video. So let's move on into actually testing GPU profitability ourselves, because GPU mining is still definitely profitable. You just have to know how to look into it and know what you're doing. So most modern cards, whether it be Polaris or Pascal, that's RX 4 series, 5 series, and GTX 10 series, are profitable because of their efficiency to their hashing power. That is, the amount of power that they use to actually mine puts them in a really good place to be the most profitable, because again, we're talking about profit, meaning your raw revenue minus your expenses. So expenses for mining would be the cost of the system / card plus electricity, and your revenue is the cryptocurrency you mine exchanged for cash. Now, one of the most popular incorrect theories that I hear all of the time in the YouTube comments with regards to GPU mining is that you have to have a lot of GPUs to make it profitable. That's simply a load of hogwash. Being profitable doesn't mean you're making an insane amount of money every month. It just means that your income is outweighing your expenditure. And I can guarantee you that even a single GPU mining rig is a profitable entity. So let me break this down for you even more. Every mining rig has to consume electricity, and that amount of electricity is determined by the power draw on the card. A GTX 1060 typically draws about 100 watts an hour from the wall, and an RX 580 will pull about 180 watts, possibly less if you undervolt and optimize. If you're mining for 24 hours a day with the system under full load, then your 1060 is using 2,400 watts and the 580 is using 4,320. That means if you pay a standard 12 cents per kilowatt hour, the 1060 is going to cost you 29 cents to run per day, and the 580 will cost you 52 cents. Which doesn't sound like a whole heck of a lot. As long as your total mining revenue exceeds 29 cents and 52 cents per day respectively, then you're profitable. And given the current mining power of either card, even with electric costs, they're still profitable to mine with. It's not a lot of money that you'll be making with a single card, but you're still earning more than you're spending. An RX 580 bone stock will net you about $22 per month right now mining Ethereum, and a GTX 1060 will net you about $29 per month mining Zcash. Paltry earnings, and you have to decide whether $20 to $30 per month is worth the extra strain on your GPU, but it's definitely still extra cash in your pocket. However, that data is a little off, because you can't just use the electricity consumption of the GPU. You have to take into consideration the entire system, which should be sitting idle and maybe using another 20 to 40 watts, which is another 6 to 12 cents per day. And that's where getting multiple GPUs help to make things a bit more profitable. The idle power usage of the rest of your system doesn't get higher the more GPUs you have mining, so the more cards you have splitting the burden of paying off the CPU, hard drive, RAM, and fan power usage, the quicker it is to make profit off of those. Having 12 cents divided by 6 GPUs each is a lot less of a knock than taking that 12 cents off of one card's profit. But all of this was presuming that you already have the GPUs. That is the Linus approach of ignoring cost to buy. But if you're mining in the first place, I hardly think that you have enough money that you can ignore the cost of buying a dozen Vegas 64s. Some of the extreme miners are at that place, but the everyman, you and I, definitely have to take these things into account. So if we break all of the data down by stock profit per day versus the cost of buying the card new, we get a pretty interesting chart. The easiest card to pay off is apparently the GTX 1050, which at current mining values would start seeing a complete profit, that is, you're not paying off the cost of the card anymore, in just 245 days. But that's a bit misleading, because again, if we take the cost of the rest of the system into account, that 47 cents per day that the GTX 1050 is earning suddenly turns into closer to 40 cents per day, making it a stupid buy. The RX Vega 56 then becomes our most profitable stock card with a payoff time of 256 days. But even the least profitable card, the RX 580, is still able to pay itself off in just over a year at 369 days. That means you could have a free GPU, right? You just buy one and then mine and you pay it off in a year. Complete profitability. It's not so easy. Mining numbers are highly volatile. I mean, back when I made my 1070 Ti mining video just under 2 weeks ago, the payoff time of those cards was closer to 200 days, not the 250 plus days it is now, which means I have to use them for even longer than I originally anticipated to pay them off. But if you're at all serious about mining, chances are you're not going to leave things at stock, but rather want to optimize your card. So let's walk through the optimized rates and payoff periods for that. This is honestly where I had the largest issue with Linus's video, because once the RX Vega 56 and 64 are optimized for mining Monero, they absolutely destroy the 1080 Ti in terms of pure profitability. Once optimized, the RX Vega 56 leads the pack with payoff periods of only 190 days because it earns the same amount as a stock 1080 Ti, but costs $300 less. Vega 64 also has a drastically shorter payoff time, going from 280 days down to just 193. All cards that are in this graph, when optimized, give you a return on investment of less than 1 year, even after taking electricity costs into account. Mining is most definitely still profitable, but the bubble has burst to some extent. Back when I made my first mining video in June, I was netting around $1,000 per month with mining. At this point, I'm lucky if I can get close to $300 in a given month. All of this has to do with how well each altcoin is doing compared to both the dollar, but also Bitcoin itself, and it hasn't been a great few months for altcoins. Bitcoin's value has skyrocketed, leaving the exchange rate of most altcoins either crashing or just treading water, meaning there's lower payouts for GPU miners. Also, sometimes different algorithms mine different coins, and that can wildly fluctuate. Kryptonite, which is typically used for mining Monero, recently switched to a newer currency called Electronium, and we saw mining rates skyrocket to nearly 50 to 60% more than what they typically are with Monero. Even now, my RX Vega is earning roughly $4 per day, even though its Monero hash rate indicates it should be around the $3 mark. And then getting back to the idea that adding more cards makes GPU mining more profitable, it just doesn't. My RX Vegas don't suddenly earn more money per card once I have 5 of them. They earn the same raw amount and have the same payoff period no matter how many of them are in the system. I can absolutely earn more total profit, but that doesn't make anything more profitable. And in fact, depending on where you live and if you have tiered electric prices, you could end up being less profitable the more you mine, as your electric costs go up for every bracket of kilowatt hours you use. So while you could be earning $2.59 per RX Vega 64 if you have 1, when you add 5 more, that could drop down to $2.25 per card, because the greedy electricity monopoly jacks your prices up to 20 cents per kilowatt hour once you pass 500. Obviously, all of this depends on where you live and the rate you pay for electricity, but mining is still profitable for most newer cards, even if you are paying an absurdly high electric costs. Whether or not it's worth it is up to you though. Does paying off a Vega card in 190 days or a 1060 in 245 days sound appealing to you? Then go for it. But otherwise, it might not be your cup of tea. We're no longer in the heyday of mining with each 1080 Ti earning nearly $10 per day, but we still are in a place where you can use GPUs to bring in some extra side income if you have them lying around. That was honestly my stance back when I made the Noob's Guide to Bitcoin Mining, and it's still my stance now. At any time, the mining market could become immediately unprofitable if the floor comes out from under altcoins pricing, which means you bought a ton of hardware that you can't pay off, which then will translate into you having to sell them on Craigslist, which is what every other miner in the world will be doing, which means that the $400 you paid for that Vega 56 is now going to be worth $200 due to supply and demand. It's a risk that's there that I don't have the risk tolerance for, so I'm 100% cool to continue mining with electric rates and raw earnings being where they are now, but I'm not going to say to myself or recommend to you that you can go out and buy equipment just so you can mine and pay it off in less than 7 months, because we don't know if that's actually going to happen, because things can change dramatically in 6 months. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up there. Linus's video was just an odd take on an important topic that many people are still currently looking into, but they did it in such a weird way, and I hope that they change how they approach it next time. But I felt like it needed to be addressed, as I was planning on making a profitability video anyways, so now is as good a time as ever. Alright, well, I hope that this video may have been helpful to you, addressing some of the questions that you have surrounding GPU mining profitability. Be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed it. And also let me know if you have any further questions or want me to address a specific topic in an upcoming video, either down in the comments or over on Twitter. I'm at UFDisciple. Subscribe to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content, not just mining-focused stuff. Also, if you're looking for a way to support us here at the UFDisciple channel, you can consider using our Amazon affiliate codes down in the video description for purchasing any of the GPUs or hardware pieces that you might be purchasing for upcoming gaming or mining rigs. Anyways, I'm Brett with the UFDisciple channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Cheers. While Linus